Well, Randy Orton officially turns heel, much to the chagrin of the internet wrestling community. Hey guys, welcome to the 716 Sports Entertainment Podcast, SmackDown edition, Friday the 13th of March. And we are getting closer and closer to the road to WrestleMania. And we had a big stop last night with finally saw some movement in a bunch of feuds that are likely going to lead to some matches at WrestleMania, as well as the big program, which will likely main event night one. So with that, I am Mike, joined by Mr. Sean O'Neill. And Sean, how did we like SmackDown last night?
I mean, the Randy Orton turn has been the most unexpected thing in the last 6 months of waiting for Randy Orton to turn heel. So they did it well. I think that it was a very well done segment, and I think Cody getting brutalized the way that he was quite the image. And well, I mean, we'll talk about the whole segment here in a minute, but I think the show overall did a pretty good job of progressing storylines towards Mania, like you mentioned. And right now, that's the biggest thing they could be doing.
Yeah. So yeah, the overall main event segment is how we'll kind of focus on it. So it initially started with the way the show opened up, which saw Drew McIntyre and Nick Aldis get into it pretty extensively, and Drew said a lot of things that, the internet wrestling community has been saying that Mr. Golden Boy Cody had to get the title back, blah, blah, blah. Aldis found means with which to correct him on numerous occasions, basically saying, Drew, this is all your fault because you attempted to cost him at the Rumble and at the Elimination Chamber, and you need to kind of like reap what you sow. And they were really sowing sort of seeds of a match potentially down the road between the two of them. But
Yep.
obviously, this ultimately brought out Jacob Fatu as well, which we'll talk about what happened between Jacob and everybody later. But that's certainly pointing to a match, right, between Jacob and Drew, very likely. But more importantly, getting to the main event sequence. This was supposed to be the title signing, sort of ceremony thing that they do between Cody and Randy Orton. And to be completely honest, not much was really said here between Cody and Randy before Randy had his eventual turn here, right? I mean, just the kind of, the same, I respect you. I want to see the Viper, blah, blah, blah. I know about the voices in your head. And, Cody just kind of throwing out all of the one lines that we expected. But, to some people's surprise, Randy Orton then proceeded to slam Cody's head into the table and he hit him with the RKO, threw him to the outside of the ring, beat him down with the ring steps, broke him over the table, ultimately busting Cody's face open, pretty gnarly
Hard
looking.
way.
Yeah, and that's one thing I give Cody a lot of credit for. Dude is not afraid to bleed at all, and yeah, ultimately ended the show with a really excellent shot of Randy Orton sitting in a chair in the middle of the ring holding the title, which looked really, really cool. It was a really, really great way, like a really great visual representation of, storytelling there. You got Cody lying bloodied on the announce desk, and then you have Randy sitting in the chair just looking down, holding the title. Like it looked really cool, and it was a really great way to close out the show, I thought.
So this is a perfect instance of using blood in wrestling the way it should be used, where it's not a every day, every time you have a match occurrence, but you use it to help progress a storyline by adding to the brutality of the moment.
Yep.
And I don't know where he hit Cody, but he was bleeding like ridiculous, like Ric Flair levels of bleeding.
You think Cody
Um,
bladed?
I don't. I think he may have caught the edge of the steps when Randy hit him, and with the amount he was bleeding, I have a feeling that that might have been what happened. But I think what surprised me is when he put the fact that Randy put hands on Jelly Roll. That kind of surprised me, and I really thought they were going to go the route of like for a minute there after he pushed Jelly Roll, he started acting like he didn't know what he had just done. So I was wondering if they were going to go the route of him just being crazy and just like snapping and not realizing what he did. But then when he got in the ring and sat there with the title, that completely shattered that opportunity. I think he should have looked up and gave that Randy Orton smile though at the end while holding the title.
Yeah. No, I thought the whole segment was excellent. It was very well done. I mean, initially the way it started, it was very kind of scripted and rehearsed, and it was just like, title signing ceremony thing that they do, right? So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to do that kind of thing with two baby faces when they're both in the ring, like initially, right? It's hard to have two baby faces just sort of sitting there being like, "Oh, you're great. No, you're great. I know I want to fight the best version of you." It's like this the same thing, you know. So you know, I was very much expecting this. I thought if you were going to have an opportunity for Cody to turn, I think this would have been the opportunity to do it. But I think it just further cemented where I think I'm standing at this point is that Cody's never going to turn heel.
I don't think
I
so.
just don't think Cody's ever going to turn heel. I think they're going to give him the John Cena sort of treatment, and I just don't think Cody's going to turn heel. I think he's too, as much as the internet wants to hate on, and I don't even think the internet hates Cody. Truthfully, I just think they hate that Cody's getting the John Cena 2010s sort of treatment a little bit, and plus also, guys, for the record, the internet's not a real place. Um, but more important than that, I think that's really more of what, certain segments of the fan base are upset about is that Cody's getting like the John Cena 2010s treatment a little bit too much versus I think them actually being mad at Cody.
Yeah. I think that I agree with you that they'll never really turn him heel at this point. I could see them maybe adding edge to his character, like they sort of did with Cena for a little while there. But I don't at this point. He's too big of a merch seller. As some of our commenters and fans have mentioned, he is huge with the kids.
Yeah.
Like it's literally the second coming of John Cena.
Yeah. Yeah. Completely agree. And it's really hard. And you've been seeing this a lot. We talked about it on our Raw podcast. It's really hard to do a baby face versus baby face
Yep.
title match. Hence why sort of the gray area that they're turning Roman Reigns into kind of the heel in the match versus CM Punk, like sort of a very like a very different way of doing it, but also like a very effective way of doing it, I think. Whereas here, it's definitely just more cut and dry. Like Randy Orton
Yeah.
just, turned himself into the bad guy, right?
Yep.
And I think that's fine. I think that this really needed one of them to be a heel. And I'm still honestly of the mind that Randy Orton's probably going to win, as I think he should,
I
right?
agree. If you ask me right now, I'm leaning heavily in the direction of Orton winning because it makes the most sense storyline wise, and it makes it puts Cody in that better spot where he's chasing the title.
Cody's much better chasing the title. I completely agree. And you know what? Cody had his time in the sun for a while after he beat Roman Reigns. He held the title for a year,
Yeah,
and I mean, he's on his third run with the title. This will not be his last run with the title. I bet by the time Cody hangs up the boots, he's probably going to be close to 10, I would say a 10-time champion by the time it's all said and done. I have a feeling he will win the title several more times before it's all said and done. He's got like what, 3 years? Left. I would imagine he's going to win the title at least 4 or 5 more times for sure.
I could agree with that.
So, but yeah, this was definitely kind of the highlight of the show. And I wanted to actually ask you as well, because you've been really, running the gas for the Sami Zayn thing as well. What did you think of all of the Sami Zayn stuff? And you want to give a little bit of background on everything that happened?
So we continued the storyline of Sami Zayn approaching Cody and the two of them getting into it when they really shouldn't be, because a lot of the conversation that both of them are having is not anything that they should be yelling at each other about. But I really do think that this is going to be leading to either a heel turn from Sammy or something along those lines where he ends up costing Cody the title, or I'm wondering if we still he finds a way into the match, like
You
somehow.
think?
But I'm not leaning that heavily towards that anymore. I'm leaning more towards I think he's going to have a match with Trick, like you have been saying, especially after his confrontation with Trick backstage. And basically where he ran into Trick and told him that if he knew where he is and where if he wanted to back it up, he could come at him anytime. But I think that he's going to have his match with Trick at Mania, and I think he's going to cost Cody the belt.
So let me ask you this. I am of the mind that if Cody retains at WrestleMania, 100% his next feud is Sammy.
Yeah,
If Cody loses at WrestleMania, I don't know if Cody's next feud is with Sammy. I think Cody might go back to Jacob for that because
I
Drew's
think
going to be gone.
no, I think Cody's going to continue with Randy for a month or two.
Yeah, like Backlash, right? Like they'll have another match at Backlash probably if there's some kind of screwy finish. Um, but I think after that, like I don't know if Sammy's going to immediately go to the title, like right after that. I think that I really am of the mind, and you heard it here first. I really am of the mind Sammy's going to get his coronation at WrestleMania next year in Saudi.
Yeah, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me. I think that I can agree with the angle that you're pushing there. Because Jacob is going to need something to do, unless you have Jacob go after Sammy, or not after Sammy, after Randy.
So fantasy book this out for me. Who, how long does Randy keep the title, and who does he drop it to?
I'd say Randy keeps it minimum until at least SummerSlam. I don't see him losing it before SummerSlam.
And does he lose
But
it to Cody or does he lose it to somebody else?
that's the problem because who right now are really your world champion material on SmackDown? Cody, Jacob's been in that picture. Drew, if he comes back. Um, Sammy. I guess you could throw Damian Priest in there because he's a former world champion, but he's not really involved in that picture right now. So there really aren't that many potential people to have feuds with. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I think that I think Randy drops it to Jacob at SummerSlam.
And what do you do with Cody at SummerSlam? Sammy?
Um, I don't know. I feel like we're gonna have to see what's going on before then.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's talk about the rest of the show. I wanted to get back to the thing with Drew McIntyre, right? So, at the start of the show, Drew McIntyre went to Nick Aldis and basically after, calling out Cody and, making the internet wrestling community love him even more, he proceeded to quit SmackDown, if you will, which ultimately led to a match a little bit later in the show as Jacob Fatu went to Nick Aldis and was like, look, I still want to get my hands on Drew, all this other stuff. And he had a match with Trick that was set up because Trick interrupted their sort of their talking segment there. And Drew comes back during the match later on in the show between Trick and Jacob, cost Jacob the match, which allowed Trick to pick up the win. This was 100% the right thing to do here because you don't want to have either one of these guys lose. And yeah, so I am 100% that Jacob and Drew is going to be a WrestleMania match, which is probably going to see Jacob win because of Drew leaving to film Highlander.
I feel like it has to be some sort of stipulation match too. Um, Maybe unsanctioned, maybe something like a extreme rules, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Um, I think my only question is though, if Drew quit, where was security?
Right. I mean, continuity, guys.
I know, right? Shouldn't he have theoretically been arrested?
Yeah. But it was good though. I still, this still goes into the good category for me. And yeah, I enjoyed this very, very much. Anything
Yeah,
else to add or yeah.
it was a very good match between Trick and Jacob before Drew interfered.
Mm.
I'm still of the opinion that Trick has an extremely bright future, and I absolutely love Jacob's entrance.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. His entrance is so good. I love the way his whole presentation is so good. And like I love the edge that the character has as well. no
Yeah,
pun intended. Like I really, really like the edge that the character has a lot.
him
So
getting him getting away from the Samoan faction was the best idea they could have with him.
yeah. Now, as much as the rest of this show was okay, I don't really want to say like anything was horrible. This show's like it seemed like its whole primary purpose, almost every single segment on this show or every single in-match piece, every single talking segment backstage, which led to a match or led to something down the road, really pointed to things that are going to likely happen at WrestleMania, I think.
Yeah,
And that's, they kind of obviously have to get on the ball with that a little bit more because, there's only four, what is it, four SmackDowns left until WrestleMania. And one of them is going to have, likely the Andre the Giant match. And the last one will have the Andre the Giant match and probably the US title match, I would imagine as well.
I don't think
So,
so. I think I
well,
think the U.S.
I
title is
meant
going to make.
I meant the men's US title match, which actually wasn't featured on this show, surprisingly.
They
They
did
just
have a
given
segment though.
yeah. So, but I don't really want to go in any particular order, so we'll just kind of start with we had the Wyatts and the MFTs again, which did see the Wyatts, win the match and event, get their hands back on the lantern for a little bit. This match was really slow and it was kind of like I know it ended up with all of both groups getting in and just kind of all hitting their moves on each other. And I kind of thought that with the Wyatts winning and getting the lantern, it was gonna kind of like have some finality to this a little bit, and it didn't because Tamatonga just, took the lantern again and kind of ran away with it. And I was kind of like, oh, I guess this thing is just gonna kind of need to continue a little bit. So I don't know. This
I'm
almost seems
calling
to
it
be like
now.
a what?
I'm calling it now. There's going to be some sort of stupid stipulation match between all of the MFTs and the Wyatts at Mania for the Lantern.
Except maybe Tamatonga because of the thing with Shinsuke.
Yep.
So I wonder if Tamatonga and Shinsuke are going to do something, and then that way you can very easily have a 4-on-4
Yep.
match, which might not even make WrestleMania. It might just make the SmackDown before WrestleMania.
But I'm
But
calling it now. There's going to be something stupid between the two of them for that Lantern. Some sort of stupid stipulation.
lantern
And
on a pole match.
yep, with Vince Russo. I think that. Sorry, Vince. If you happen to catch us randomly on the interweb, don't come at us. Um, but honestly, even better than the match because, like you said, the match was slow and plodding. Look at the people who were in it:
Yeah,
Rowan, the tall Samoan, tall guy Tonga,
yeah,
um, Solo, and Howdy are all slow wrestlers. I think the
yeah,
bigger thing for me coming out of this was that segment backstage where Shinsuke came at Tama again and basically called him out for when is he going to be his own man.
yeah.
And I am really enjoying that. I think that the two of them will put on a fantastic match,
Oh, no
and I
doubt.
think that leads to Tama doing something potentially. I could see winning the U.S. title.
Yeah, eventually. As I think he should. He's the best wrestler of that group, like in its entirety, by a mile.
Yeah,
Like by a mile. He's better in the ring. He's not as good on the microphone as Solo. Solo's great on the microphone, but he's a much better wrestler than all of the other MFTs by a lot.
I think the next closest is probably the law firm.
The law firm. So we also did see Damian Priest and R-Truth defeat Los Garza after a backstage altercation as well. This was kind of a nothing match. Obviously, Damian Priest and R-Truth are the number one contenders for the tag titles. And I don't know how long they're going to hold that out. I don't know if it's going to go until WrestleMania, to be completely honest with you. I would very much like another, big person match. And maybe if we can get those belts off of the MFTs prior to WrestleMania, have Priest and R-Truth, win them, and then do something else with all of the other tag teams on SmackDown. That could be pretty cool. Because frankly, I think the belts should come off of both of those teams, if I'm being completely honest here. And I know Damian Priest and R-Truth are really not a proper tag team. They just kind of were formed. But I think it's a good thing because it gives Damian Priest something to do because he clearly doesn't want to take time off.
The guy is like Superman when it comes to working. My
Yeah.
God, he never rests. And who is this R-Truth you speak of? I thought that was Ron Cena.
Yeah. I loved his joke about calling the MFTs the Judgment Day. That was kind of
Yep.
hilarious.
He is the only reason why Ron Killing should be around anymore is for those segments. Every one of those segments is just absolute gold from him.
Yeah, it was
And
so funny.
call jelly roll sushi roll.
Forgot about that. That was so funny. Yeah, that was good. Speaking of Sushi Roll had a segment of Miz TV with the Miz, which you and I were talking about this before we fired up the podcast here. So you're of the mind that this is going to be a match, and this isn't just going to be like talking segments on WrestleMania?
No, I feel like after Jelly Roll did as well as he did at SummerSlam, I feel like they're setting up a match of some sort for him.
With Miz?
Most likely. I mean, when you look at it, Miz is usually the one who does the celebrity things at Mania, and I mean, somehow Kit Wilson is obviously going to be involved because he came out and did his theme song that everybody loved, except instead of yelling toxic, he yelled fatphobic. But um, I really do think that we're going to get some sort of Jelly Roll match.
That would be a nice little push for Kit Wilson because Miz doesn't need it, obviously, although Miz would be an incredibly safe person to put a celebrity with.
That's
Um,
why they do it.
I think that would be a great rub for Kit Wilson if you did Kit Wilson and Jelly Roll.
Yeah, and
Being
somehow
a
Danhausen.
Yeah, and maybe get Danhausen in there with the Miz. Actually, maybe you do Jelly Roll and Danhausen versus Miz and Kit Wilson.
Yeah, and have
That could actually
Danhausen
be a
curse
lot of
him.
fun. That could be a lot of fun.
I could get behind that. I think that would be very fun.
Yeah,
Did you
yeah.
know he has his face paint trademarked?
Danhausen?
Yeah, so like the style that his face paint is done is actually he was the first wrestler to ever actually trademark his face paint. He
Huh.
he did it before Sting did it because Sting actually found out that you could do it from him.
Huh. That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
That's pretty
I was
cool.
watching. He was on Chris Van Vliet. I think I pronounced it right, without his makeup on, and they were talking about it.
Interesting. That's pretty cool. I really like
Yeah,
that. Um, we did see another, thing leading to WrestleMania, which, as I mentioned at the start of the show, was really just, the whole purpose of this entire episode of SmackDown. But we had the women's tag team champions be defended, where Nia Jax and Lash Legend did retain their titles against Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair via disqualification after the Bellas found their way back to SmackDown and kind of got themselves indirectly involved in the match. And all these women obviously did brawl. So as we've been saying on this show for a while, it is very likely going to be these three teams of the Irresistible Forces, Alexa and Charlotte, and the Bellas, and maybe even one other team in some kind of multi-person match for those tag team titles, which will almost certainly see the Bellas win.
yeah, oh, 100%. It surprises me that there is so obviously you said they retained via DQ. That sets up next week. They announced that we're going to get the Bellas versus Lash Legend and Nia Jax for the titles, which 100% Charlotte and Alexa are going to get involved in. So that's also probably going to end in a DQ. And honestly, it wouldn't surprise me if somehow we saw another one or two women's tag teams get involved in these and get that multi-person match.
Which I think is honestly a good thing, depending on how other things go, right? So like I I'm still 50-50 if Bailey is going to beat AJ Lee next week. And the reason I say that is because I really feel like Becky's going to get involved and cost AJ.
Same.
And it's going to likely lead to a match there, which could see Bailey win. And if Bailey wins, they're 100% going to do something between her and Lyra for that IC title. If
Yep.
Bailey doesn't win, then I could just see Bailey and Lyra being added to
Yeah.
this as well. So I don't really care which direction they go. I would prefer Bailey to win the women's IC title. Like if I could book it out the way I want to book it out. But I would also be okay with Bailey and Lyra being added to this as well, just so long as Bailey and Lyra get on the WrestleMania card. It's really all I
Yeah.
care about there.
All I know is if I don't hear Brie mode get yelled, I'm going to be very disappointed.
Um, so this led us to as well a match between Tiffany Stratton and Kiana James, which was set up by a backstage segment of Julia ultimately calling out Tiffany, which I know you wanted to talk about because you had made mention that you think this is going to lead to something bigger.
I think we're going to get a multi-person match for the for the women's U.S. title. I think we're going to get a multi-women match involving Julia, Chelsea Green, Tiffany, and potentially one or two other people, just based off of the direction that it looks like we're going after this match. Because you still have Chelsea Green getting involved in a lot of these storylines. And then now the whole big thing was that if Tiffany got through Kiana James, she was coming for Julia. So I think that is another potential WrestleMania match we're looking at right there.
My only concern is, because we've complained about the booking of Julia quite a bit on this channel. I mean, is Julia basically once Julia loses this US title, is she because I mean Tiffany's going to win it, right? Like
Maybe
Tiffany's
not. Maybe
100% going to
you.
win it, but does does this just basically move Julia towards being future endeavored at this point?
No. Maybe Julia. You have Julia win to actually add some prestige to the title.
I don't think Tiffany's going to lose. Tiffany's too
Um,
big of a star. I don't think she's going to lose.
But no, I think that you then free Julia up from having to worry about this. Maybe move her over to Raw, do something different with her.
Yeah, maybe, I suppose. Um, And then, last but not least, we had Jade Cargill versus Michin in a relatively nothing match. Michin got a little bit of offense in this match, but Jade clearly dominated, as she should, right? Like Jade
Yeah.
should have dominated in this match, and that was fine. It was weird seeing Jade like lick her face at the end of this match, which was kind of strange. But anyway, and then after the match, Jade called out Rhea Ripley, took some shots at her, which brought Rhea out, and then Jade, oddly sort of fled the ring instead of getting back in Rhea's face. Although typical heel work, and I was actually kind of fine with it. But to be honest with you, I think I need these two women to like come to blows a little bit
Yeah.
more versus like Jade acting like macho and then being just heel 101 and kind of running away. Like present Jade like a badass, right? Like that's really all we need from the booking of Jade. Give her the Bill Goldberg treatment. That's why we call her Jadeberg on this channel. Like,
Yep.
give her the Bill Goldberg treatment. Make her just be like, whatever, Rhea, I'm gonna just push your ass out of the ring, right? Like,
Yeah.
and have like especially if Rhea's going to win, which I think you and I are both kind of on the same page with that. Just have Jade get the upper hand every single time leading up to WrestleMania then, you know? Like have her look strong because frankly, like you have her talk all this smack and then she just kind of hightails it when Rhea shows up. Like
Yeah.
I don't know. But we've complained about the booking of Jade a lot, so I don't want to get into it too much, but of the four title matches, like main title matches that are going to happen at WrestleMania, this is the one I'm looking forward to the least.
100%. 100%. I mean, this promo was a little bit better than last week's, but I am right there with you. It is just the sooner they come to blows, the better. And the sooner this feud is over, the better.
Yeah. And then we need to move Jade down the card for a little while. Like
Yeah.
I think assuming Rhea wins, which I think I'm unless Bianca comes back as a heel and helps Jade retain,
Yeah.
I think because that could add a lot of spice to this if Bianca comes back and helps Jade retain or costs Jade. One or the other. It doesn't matter. If Bianca comes back, I think it could definitely add some spice to this. But otherwise, like we just, if there is no Bianca, which I still am of the mind, I don't think there's going to be. Um, Rhea just
Not right
needs to
now.
win. Rhea needs to win. Jade needs to go down the card. Hell, maybe put Jade into the US, give her the US title and let her run with it for 6 months or something like that.
That was the title she should have gotten in the first place.
Yeah, I'm completely with you on that. So, but yeah, so that was Friday Night SmackDown, and this was definitely the right sort of the pushing a lot of things in the right direction to get to WrestleMania. So, what's your overall rating and opinion on the show?
Um, Again, I think the show did everything it needed to for the road to WrestleMania. Can was an all right show. The ending segment and the opening segment were definitely the highlights. And of course, anytime Danhausen curses somebody, but and he hits him with the
Yeah, I
best
like that.
selling T-shirt since in like forever. I love it. Has a T-shirt in his first week.
Yeah.
One I'm gonna 100% buy one of those. But I think that I have to give it a much like Raw. I think I give it a 3.5.
Yeah, I'm completely with you. I thought that like this was something that SmackDown desperately needed to do was to really kind of lay all of its chips on the table and all of its stars who are going to be on the WrestleMania card if we end up doing Trick and Sammy, whatever we're going to do with Jelly Roll, whatever we're going to do with the women's US title, however we get all of those women and Tiffany and Julia involved, maybe getting the titles on Damian Priest and R-Truth so we can do a multi-person match. Obviously, the multi-person situation that's going to occur with the women's US title, Jade and Rhea, however we're going to handle the Wyatts and the MFTs, like everything is pointing to, getting stuff together for the SmackDown before WrestleMania, which will have the Andre the Giant, and probably a couple other WrestleMania-esque matches on it, right? So I thought this was a great show. So with that, my final rating for the show is a sushi roll out of five.
Very nice. A Ron Cena.
So that is our show, guys. Thank you, as always, so much for joining us. We appreciate all of the support. We're going to have a ton of content for you guys as we get closer to WrestleMania here. We're going to definitely be breaking down some of the best WrestleManias. We're going to revisit some of the episodes we did last year leading up to WrestleMania and look at how our opinions might have changed and look at how dumb we were a year ago when we were predicting the card and everything else like that. And WrestleMania will see the start of season 2 of our predictions as well. So jump in and join us on those. And we really look forward to it. So with that, I have been Mike, joined by Mr. Sean O'Neill. Have yourselves a fantastic weekend and take care.